Most business startups will involve you spending money before you begin to bring in much revenue. Since you may not have any revenue to invest in your business, you will need to identify the sources that this initial funding will come from. Your list of funding sources will include sources that are already committed, pending, or anticipated, and how much each will contribute. For example, if you need financing for your startup, you will want to understand if those funds are already in the process of being paid to you and what the likelihood of receiving them will be. Take a moment to list all your available funding sources and whether there are any restrictions on how you use those funds, like the example seen here. The information contained here has been prepared by Civitas Strategies and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The Civitas Strategies team has used reasonable efforts in collecting, preparing, and providing this information, but does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. The publication and distribution of this information are not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute, an attorney-client or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information is expressly prohibited. Only non-commercial uses of this work are permitted. Even before you open or expand your child care business, you will have many expenses that you will need to pay for. You will need to consider the cost of licensing, materials, supplies, staffing, including staff training, marketing, equipment, and much more. This list doesn't even include what you might need to pay for to secure your location and make sure that it is up to code and ready to serve young children. Planning ahead and developing a spending strategy can seem overwhelming, but it does not have to be. In today's conversation, you will learn how to plan for spending, identify your funding sources and costs, including startup and operational costs, and how to develop a plan for any additional funding that may be needed. Once you have determined to open a new child care business, your first thought is likely about where you will find the money to open it. There are two types of costs to consider as you prepare: startup costs and operational costs. Startup costs are the costs associated with launching your new or expanded child care business. Operational costs are how much it costs to continue to run your business once it is open. You'll need to consider both types of expenses. Your startup budget should include a list of everything you need to launch your new child care business. These costs will usually fall into the following categories: personnel, which includes your staff wages, benefits, and payroll taxes. This could also include training expenses. Supplies, which would be classroom, office, and general building supplies. Equipment, such as classroom and office furniture, outdoor equipment, and technology. Construction or renovation costs. Operating costs, like rent or mortgage, utilities, communications, and insurance. Marketing and advertising. Permitting fees, taxes, tuition, and an other or miscellaneous category. Think through your expansion or startup project and put together a list of all your anticipated expenses and cost estimates within these categories. Include as much detail as possible, including how much you expect each part to cost you. You can find worksheets to help you start your list in the tool that accompanies this video. Most business startups will involve you spending money before you begin to bring in much revenue. Since you may not have any revenue to invest in your business, you will need to identify the sources that this initial funding will come from. Your list of funding sources will include sources that are already committed, pending, or anticipated, and how much each will contribute. For example, if you need financing for your startup, you will want to understand if those funds are already in the process of being paid to you and what the likelihood of receiving them will be. Take a moment to list all your available funding sources and whether there are any restrictions on how you use those funds, like the example seen here. Now that you have identified all your expenses and your funding sources, you can match your available funding to your anticipated costs. Set up a simple list, or a table, like the one shown here. As you begin to assign a funding source to each anticipated cost, make sure that you prioritize how to pay for these costs. Look at any barriers you have to opening a child care program or expanding, and then prioritize those areas with your funding. If you have areas that need to be updated due to safety concerns, such as your kitchen area, fire suppression system, fencing, and/or security needs, then prioritize your funds for that area. Additionally, look at your larger expenses. Payroll is usually the biggest expense a center has. For a home, it could be your ongoing rent or mortgage and utilities payments. Once you have completed allocating your available funding toward your anticipated costs, you may find yourself in a situation where you still need additional funding. There are a couple of tasks that you can take to make a plan to effectively fund your project. First, revisit your pricing. Ensure your pricing or tuition is accurate and up to date. Oftentimes, child care businesses underprice their services in efforts to increase access to care or aim towards fuller enrollment. However, as a business, it is important to ensure that your pricing accurately reflects the needs of your business and sets you up for financial success. To learn more about pricing, see our guide on how to set rates. Next, trim your costs. Are all your expenses necessary? Look at your budget and see if there is any trimming or postponing that can be done. Look at recurring costs like subscriptions or items that you can put on a list of future goals. Don't forget to look at automation options that can help you better manage your time. You may also explore loan options. Taking out a loan is a big responsibility. However, sometimes the benefits will outweigh the risks of taking on additional debt. Learn how to understand when a loan is a wise choice for your business in our online guide, Accessing Capital. Bootstrapping is a term that refers to starting a business using a combination of personal savings and revenue generated by the business to fund its growth. Businesses that opt for this approach may experience slower growth, but may also in turn have less debt and, therefore, greater profit. While it requires a bit of penny-pinching planning and continual reinvestment in your business, it also means you retain full control and ownership without taking on external debts. Once your program is up and running, you will have regular operational costs to cover as well. Here are the steps you can take to make sure you are well prepared and your business is set up for success. Step 1. Develop a monthly budget. When planning for your business, a budget functions like a detailed map that guides your financial journey, outlining your planned route and helping you avoid detours. A budget is a simple tool that will help you plan ahead for what you expect to spend as well as what you expect to receive in terms of revenue. Create your budget by gathering your income and expense documentation for your business, building out estimates by month, and then tracking actuals to improve your estimates. Step 2. Create your cash flow forecast. Where your budget is your financial roadmap, cash flow is the compass that orients you in real time, indicating your immediate financial direction and allowing you to adjust course as needed to stay on track. In its simplest form, a cash flow is a comparison between your expenses and your income that helps you to understand how much cash your business will have on hand each month. By using a comparison of historic time frames and scenarios, your cash flow can give you the best, base, and worst-case cash positions to help you plan ahead. Be sure to consider your startup costs, as well as the time it takes to reach full enrollment when you open, as both will impact your cash flow. For more information, visit the DECAL Thriving Childcare Business Academy website. If you have questions about the Academy, send them to the email address on the screen. And be sure to visit the Civitas Strategies YouTube channel for more valuable resources to support you and your business.